that have not, what shall I say to you? Shall I praise you in this? I praise you not. He says to those who are abusing the Lord's Supper, instead of treating it as a memorial, they just come to, eat and drink and get drunk. So Paul is saying, if you want to come to the church and eat and drink and get drunk, it's wrong. You want to eat a lot of food, you eat at home, you drink in home. Don't you have homes to do that? He specifically says, you want to eat and drink, do it at home. You want to observe the Lord's Supper, you do it in the church. But when it comes to the gift of tongues, he doesn't say that. He doesn't say, what, have ye not houses to pray in tongues? Does he say that? No, he doesn't say that. He says, if nobody can interpret what you're saying in the church, keep quiet. Keep quiet. He doesn't say, go home and speak in tongues privately. Use it as a private prayer language. That's not what he's saying at all. So speaking in tongues or praying in tongues was to be done in the church for the edification of others. Again, let me show you the verses. Look at verse 5, 1 Corinthians chapter 14, and verse 5. I would that ye all spake with tongues, but rather that ye prophesied. For greater is he that prophesied than he that speaketh with tongues, except he interpret, that the church may receive edifying. There you have it, plain and clear. He says, I wish all of you spoke in tongues in the church. But seek rather to prophesy, because if you prophesy, there would not be a need for you to have an interpreter. But if you speak in tongues, you must have an interpreter, that the church may be edified. Look at verse 12. Verse 12, even so ye, for as much as ye are zealous of spiritual gifts, seek that ye may excel to the edifying of the church. It's as clear as day, brethren. Your spiritual gifts should be exercised to the edifying of the church. Tongues is one of the spiritual gifts, and it should be exercised for the edifying of the church. If you cannot do that, do not exercise the gift of tongues. This is Paul's teaching on tongues to the church at Corinth, especially on these two topics as to whether tongues is a private prayer language or not, whether it can be used for self-edification or not. So the answer is tongues, the gift of tongues is not a special prayer language. It is not to be used for self-edification, but rather for the edification of the church.